Welcome to ASEAN BIZ, your only choice for business updates covering ASEAN countries. I'm Chia.
And I'm Chong.
And we bring you news on everything that happens around the world that affects ASEAN countries.
Our direct main story today is corruption and ASEAN. But before that, let's look at our current business updates on the topic of Brexit.
Yes, Eric, Brexit has been a hot topic recently, right?
Yes, and everybody is quite puzzled about what Brexit is all about. But
Britain exit.
Britain exiting the European Union.
Previously, it was Grexit.
Yeah. So, just a brief one. Maybe our listeners would like to have a better understanding what Brexit is all about.
Yeah.
We cannot delve too deep into it because it will involve a lot of political things.
Yeah, Eric, the joke is after they have voted to exit the EU, all these British guys were frantically searching the internet and Google to find out what is EU.
Even they themselves don't know what they are voting for, except they got hook, line and single by the politicians. But anyway, they already reached a decision to exit the EU. And let's hope that the new Prime Minister will have a more positive outlook in bringing the country into a different arena.
Right, yes. Very soon, in these few days, they'll have a new Prime Minister. David Cameron doesn't want to be Prime Minister again.
Yes.
Because he wants to stay in the EU, and it seems that everyone, the majority says want to exit. So he's sort of fed up.
So probably he will move into some European countries outside of Britain.
Right,
so
let's look at some pros and cons about what is this Brexit all about.
Yeah, firstly, the pro is the membership fees for about £10 billion is required per year. Last year they paid £13 billion membership fees and received only about £5 billion of spending benefits.
That means net they are losing about 10 billion every year.
Yes,
to stay in
the EU. So probably the opposition does not see much of the benefits in staying in the EU because of the trade imbalance.
Yeah, but come to that, we talk about the con. Trade. EU is a big tariff-free area, and more than half of Britain's trade is with other countries in the EU because tariff-free.
Tariff-free, so the whole EU regions is actually they move their products freely without tax and without.
Yeah, that means if they exit the EU, half of their trade will be like
subjected to taxes.
Yes,
and also scrutinizations.
Right.
So probably they need to go, apply for, if foodstuff, they probably need to apply for another food license or food clearance from the EU community.
Quite troublesome
for them, but probably give them a better outlook to export outside of EU regions. Right. So maybe the pro, maybe the cons. The investment and pro-Europeans think the UK status as one of the world's biggest financial center will be diminished if it's no longer seen as a gateway to the EU for the likes of US banks, while Brexit campaigners suggest that free from EU rules or regulations, Britain could reinvent itself as a Singapore-style supercharged economy.
So what's the investment side? It's either a pro or a con, and they actually find it quite difficult to make up their mind. On one hand, the EU seems to be a good way for the UK to establish itself as a world financial center, but then it can actually follow what they call a Singapore-style independent economy. So there's also some advantages there. So it's quite difficult for them to make up their mind on this one, on investment.
And recently I heard of one article of one economist speculated that the Great Britain might merge with the US. So I would say that there is something very far-fetched because both of them is I would say an ocean apart. Firstly, and they don't seem to have any common in so-called their balance in currencies and so-called common borders. So I don't see how these economists can come up with that kind of hypothesis.
So let's leave it to them to weigh the pros and cons. While on the sovereignty side, Britain has to give up some of its control if it stays in the EU, its control over their own affairs. Whereas now they are exited, then they can really say that we are our own country. We have our own freedom. That's the word they use, freedom.
And on the immigration side, Britain cannot prevent anyone from other member states to come in and live in Britain, which means to say that they have the right of not to allow
so if
those
they
in
exit,
the
then it's like no more open borders.
no more open borders. So
the other member states cannot come and live in Britain.
Recently I feel that the British people or the Britons actually felt the pinch because they see the so-called free influx of immigrants coming into their country to work.
That brings us to the next point of jobs, which is actually a pro if they exit. A drop in this immigration would mean more jobs for the British people, right?
Yes, in a way it's true, but are they willing to take up jobs or not? This is another question.
There are more jobs lah.
There are more jobs. In fact, I would say there are more jobs.
Then the other consideration is terrorism.
Right. On terrorism, the so-called Brexiters says Britain is open to attacks, but others believe it is better if Britain and EU can work together to prevent terrorism. How's that sounds?
It's like, okay, we can share intelligence. Different countries in EU, we have intelligence about the terrorists. So if you are British, you're on your own, then we won't share our information with you and we won't protect you.
So on the other hand, let's just speculate. Probably it's other EU countries that affected Britain to be attacked.
Right. So I believe the Brexiters actually think about this point, and they feel that terrorism could be more well contained if they exit the EU altogether.
Yeah, so that their neighbors who done bad things will not affect them. So they got to make a declaration. Now we are not with EU, so don't attack us.
Yeah. So the conclusion, Eric and everybody, in the end, Brexit won, and now the UK is no more a part of the EU. And Brexit means Brexit.
Right. So next time when your friends go and go for Europe tour, so you must have the impression that Europe tour does not cover Britain.
Actually, Britain is a big country, right?
Yes.
And with Scotland and Wales and Ireland and all that. So it seems that Scotland wants to remain in the EU very much.
But too bad. They're under the United Kingdom.
Right, yeah. The majority won. Okay, guys. We'll be back shortly with more interesting updates on ASEAN. Stay tuned. Welcome back, folks. Before we bring on our main story for this edition, as usual, Eric is going to share with us his funny business moment. And the title of his story today is My Bull.
A man asked a farmer near a field, "Sorry, sir, would you mind if I cross your field instead of going around it? You see, I have to catch the 4 o'clock train." The farmer says, "Sure, go right ahead, and if my bulls see you, you may even catch the 3:31.
What a generous farmer.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just use my field. You can't cross, no problem.
So if my bull sees you,
make sure my bull doesn't see you. Okay, right. Thank you, Eric, for that funny business moment. Welcome back to the show, guys. You're listening to ASEAN BIZ, your only choice for business updates covering ASEAN countries. I'm your host, Andrew Chia, and together with me is Eric Chong. And we bring you business news on everything that happens around the world that involves ASEAN countries.
The title of our direct main story today is Corruption and ASEAN.
Yes, we are on to a very interesting and a very sensitive topic called corruption, Eric.
Yes, and I believe that corruption is so-called age-old topics that spreads since time immemorial. It probably spreads over 10,000 years ago. But it's just that it carries a different form, different quantum. But
perhaps, Eric, you can tell us what is corruption index.
Well, corruption index is a perception index. Okay, if our listeners would understand, it may not be an accurate measure, but there is a saying: perception is reality. So how people perceive you is actually, it can be true or cannot be true. So
the corruption index is published by Transparency International every year, right?
Yes.
And number one does not mean most corrupted. Number one on the list is the least corrupted country in the world.
Country. So it all depends on the index. Yes. So the indexes is in numbers. So the lowest the number is the least corrupted country.
The bigger your number, the more corrupted your country. And bear in mind, there are about 200 countries in the world.
Yes.
So if you rank 190 plus,
Okay.
your country is about the most corrupted
countries.
Luckily, we don't have big numbers such as 190 on our ASEAN list.
ASEAN, but it's quite close. Okay.
So, Eric, let's first take a look at what are the effects of corruption on a developing country. Like most of our countries in ASEAN, we are all developing countries. We are not advanced countries like the US, and one of our countries here is more developed than others, of course. And you know who I'm talking about.
Yes, that's Singapore.
Singapore is considered an advanced country, right?
Yes, in the ASEAN.
First on the list is that corruption is wasting a country's resources. There was once a Thailand professor who commented that Thai officials are spending a lot of corruption money abroad. So, which means if you are spending corruption money within your own country, and
it
your
will
own
be fine.
friends, your other citizens earn back your money, it's bad lah, but not so bad.
Not so bad. You spend that back into your country.
Yeah, when you spend it outside the country, that means you are taking money out of your country.
So, is there such an indications that when the country have more luxury car, which means the corruption money is flowing out of the country more?
I believe so.
Okay, so I mean those are the money that they spend on lavish luxurious item.
Yeah. I believe a big chunk of money is spent on parties,
nightclubs, and also luxurious item, luxury goods like handbags.
Yeah, Hermes bags are very popular, right?
And nowadays, LV, right? And beside that, it also slows down economic growth.
Yes, definitely.
Right. And how does that goes about, Andrew? Maybe just enlighten our listeners. How does it slows down the economic growth?
Yeah, corruption actually slows down economic growth. Why?
In what sense?
How?
Okay, right. So maybe just speculations.
The money that's supposed to develop the country
is not used properly.
Not used to develop the country.
Yes, so you can see 6:30 construction. Right.
Yes.
You can see so-called inferior goods. Okay, then you can see those buildings that's worn out too fast, too early.
Right.
Those are
probably the country's money in the form of taxes are being used for other purposes.
So simply put it in a short sentence is overpaid, under-delivered.
Right.
Okay, these are the things that will cause a slowdown in the economic growth. Then it's also involve abuse of power, and it creates tension in a country where people feel it's unfair when good people and whistleblowers are prosecuted. I almost say persecuted or even killed. Well, the killed part is the persecutions.
Yeah. So it's quite scary that people can actually get killed due to corruption. But money is usually the root of problems, right? When people want to make get more money, they resort to many ways and means to get money. And one of the ways is corruption.
Well, that's one possibility, and also that's one avenues, because the more money you corrupted from, which shows that you have more power to abuse.
Yeah. And usually there will be some people called whistleblowers who will be sounding the siren and saying that, hey, such and such a powerful man, he's involved, he's taking all the money and awarding projects to all his friends and preventing others from getting the projects. So these people will be very angry with what they call whistleblowers.
So they're just bumming off.
Yeah, they can kill them many ways. They can shoot them outright in broad daylight,
or throw them in a deserted island.
Or prevent them from going to certain places.
Okay, I think we watched too many movies, too many conspiracy theory.
Actually, it's true. Some of the movies, unfortunately, they are a reflection of what is happening in real life.
Well, it's true, because recently there's so many movies on this kind of so-called genres, where you can see all sort of conspiracy within the governments, within the corporates. And
so sometimes we see what they call accidents where people get killed, and then it's reported in papers that this guy is owing people money, that's why he was killed. But almost everyone who knows that he's being killed for saying something or for knowing something, just to shut him up,
Yeah, and it makes it looks like an accident.
Yeah, so it reflects badly on the perception index.
Okay, right.
So that country is perceived as being very corrupted, where the king or the prime minister or the powerful people just kill off their what they call enemies.
Enemies. Also
but that is not the only thing that affects the corruption index, lah. I believe Transparency International also will take into consideration things like the system or checks and balance in a country.
Yes.
Whereby, sometimes one person holds all the power, he can award projects to anybody he likes, So that will have a low ranking on the index. Whereas if a country has got checks and balance where you need to bribe 10 people instead of just bribing one person, then your index will go higher on the least corrupted list, right?
Yeah, that's true. So a more advanced country will create their own checks and balances.
Yes.
Except those more underdeveloped countries will have one person holding all the powers.
Yeah, actually, it's more important to make a system as such as so that it's not easy for people to corrupt, whereby you have checks and balances. You have to get approval from one person and then another person higher rank, So you cannot just buy everybody. It's not to say cannot. Sometimes people are so powerful, they can buy all the 10 people in a committee.
And but it's much more difficult and
it costs much more lah.
It makes it much more a costlier affair.
Right. Then it will be only profitable to corrupt on big projects. For example, the smaller ones, you think, why bother to go and bribe so many people?
Just follow the procedures.
Right, yeah.
Okay, we will take a short break and be back with our story shortly. Stay tuned, guys.
Welcome back. You're listening to ASEAN BIZ, and our Durian main story today is corruption and ASEAN. But before we continue with the concluding part of our story today, Eric will give us a quick health tip, and his story for today is exercise for a better sleep.
It can ease, let's put it, exercise for better sleep. Okay. It can ease stress and prepare you for rest when you exercise. Exercising during the day can lead to better sleep at night. The National Sleep Foundation offers suggestions that can help you sleep better. Engaging in cardiovascular exercise, such as walking or biking, for about 10 minutes per day can help promote sleep. Getting regular exercises can help lower the risk of conditions such as sleep apnea or restless leg syndrome. Andrew, have you come across what is restless leg syndromes?
That means you have to move your legs up and down, you cross your legs, and then you bend your legs here and there. I have friends who are like that. When I watch them sleep, hey, what is this guy doing? He's like jogging in his sleep.
And exercising can help you sleep longer and improve the quality of sleep, helping you feel more rested. Exercising outdoors exposes you to natural daylight, which helps promote sleep.
So
it's all true.
Exercise makes you tired and then you sleep better lah.
In a way, but when you do the exercise regularly, it does not make you tired. It's actually energize you, right? So once you energize and then you feel better and your mind is more relaxed and you can sleep better. I can vouch for that because I exercise every day and I can see that all my sleep are quality sleep. Right.
In case you can't sleep, you can still go and exercise. Put on your jogging shoes, run around your neighborhood, 2 rounds. I can assure you will be able to sleep.
Yes.
If you still can't, try 50 push-ups.
Anything will do. Exercise need not to be just running. It can be anything. You can just do it within your indoors. Also can't.
Right. Thank you, Eric. That's a great health tip. Let's continue with our Durian main story today. That is corruption and ASEAN. We talked about wasting our country's resources, slowing down economic growth, and
abuse of
corruption
power.
Involves abuse of power. Now we are on to another quite familiar topic called cronyism, which is very directly related to abuse of power, right?
Yes.
So what is cronyism, Eric?
Cronyism, which means that people who are able and talented are not even given a government contracts, right, in the first place. They are given to close associates of people in power. often resulting in bad work or service becomes a burden to the people.
Yeah, cronyism simply means give jobs to your friend.
To your friends or relatives, brothers and sisters, family members.
Contracts to those who are close to you.
Close to you, who does not demonstrate any capability of carrying out the contracts. And the person who got it, just give it to those who are capable to do it.
Right. If that is the case, not so bad. But along the way, they still give it to people who are not capable. Ended up the guy actually doing it also not capable.
Also not capable. So you can see half completed projects or project be abandoned. Or sad to say, there are also projects that after completion, they can't get the certificate of fitness.
Because basically it's not fit.
It's not fit to be utilized.
Yeah, and even within our country itself, we have seen buildings that we feel they are going to collapse. We won't dare to walk so near to it.
Yeah, that's true. And if you travel well enough, you can see a lot of these kind of buildings. I wouldn't say which buildings.
Yeah,
and
which state we don't want to say lah.
There's one state I went to, the museum. Okay, it's supposed to be a very nice museum. It's not in Malay. It's not in Kuala Lumpur. It's in other states. And the museum, as you look into it from the outlook, it looks very nice. But you look closer, it's just like the whole museum is like falling apart.
Oh.
Okay, you can see the staircase is so-called divorcing from the doorway.
Oh, scary boy.
And you can see the doorway also went so-called misaligned.
Yeah, there are so many of these cases around the world with India, China.
So I think it's not unique in Malaysia, and it's not typical to everywhere. Malaysia. It happens everywhere, even in developed countries. It's also have this kind of incidents. So it's just a matter of how to put this into checks and balances. It's the same thing.
Right.
And how the countries award their contracts.
Actually, I believe every country in this world is corrupted to a certain extent.
To a certain extent.
It's just a matter of whether you are the least corrupted or the most corrupted.
And how well those so-called corrupted officials plow back the money into the economy.
Right, yes. There was once this lady who's a journalist writing about corruption in China. And she wrote a book actually to say that it is impossible to eradicate corruption in China, because corruption means friends, giving jobs to friends. And in China, they do business with what they call the concept of guanxi. That means you must have good friends, otherwise you will not get your jobs or your contracts.
Or relevant party.
Right. So it's so deep-rooted, whereby the only way you can do business is you know your friends very well. So how can you actually divorce the corruption and the cronyism part, if that is the case, right?
Yes. So it's difficult, but it can be brings it down into a minimum level, and just that's why the index comes into the picture, right? Let's come to our corruption index involving ASEAN countries. We've been talking about China and other part of the world. Remember, there are about 195 countries in the world. This index is available online for everyone to refer. You can just Google search for corruption index, and it will come out.
Get the report.
Yes, you'll get the report. And maybe we just give a rundown of how's the corruption index on our ASEAN regions, the ASEAN countries. Yeah,
comes to the interesting part. Which countries in ASEAN are the highest rank and the lowest rank?
Maybe we start from the bottom, Andrew. Okay, let's start with the lowest ranking.
Singapore.
No, the highest ranking. Okay, we can talk about Cambodia.
Right, Cambodia is ranked 150
on the index. And then next we have Myanmar, 147th. Then
close.
We have Laos, 139. All these three countries are very close. Then there's the southern gaps. That's Vietnam, 112.
So these four countries are ranked more than 100: Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, and Cambodia. So got to really work at it, huh?
Yes, that's true. Then we have Philippines, comes in at 95.
Right.
Okay.
And then Indonesia is at 88.
Come on, there's more. So we have left three countries.
Thailand?
Okay, that's
the top three.
Wow. Thailand, 76. Okay, that's left Malaysia and Singapore. So we are.
Can you imagine? Malaysia is so well done.
In the ASEAN region. Okay.
We are ranked 54 in the world and number 2 in ASEAN. Wow. Very proud.
Very proud. And Singapore, of course, comes in at number 8.
Top 10 least corrupted countries in the world. Let's give a big hand to Singapore.
So it doesn't say that there's no corruption in developed countries. It's just that it's well contained.
Yeah, Eric. As far as I know, every single country, there are people who say that their country is the most corrupted. I have talked to some Singaporeans and they tell me, "Ayo, why my country so corrupted? You see that guy like that, this, that. Oh, I was thinking, hey, don't try to compare my country with your country." And
to them, it's so-called very explosive kind of corruptions.
Yeah.
But to those higher in the index, it's just a norm.
Right. And Eric, I'm sure if you tell our countrymen that Malaysia is ranked 54 out of say about 200, they will never believe you.
They will give
say
you
that we are ranked 190 and below.
Or something outside of the 195.
Yes. We are definitely among the top 3 most corrupted countries in the whole world. You know, that's maybe our own perception.
Yeah, maybe the corruption index that brought into certain factors that we common people would not be able to understand.
Yeah.
Right. We just we just look at things on a superficial level.
Yeah, I think, Eric, it boils down to this lah. In most countries, including advanced countries like America, there are a lot of citizens who feel that their government should have done much, much more and much better. You know?
Well,
so they are not happy.
In every cases, it happens either in a country, in a family, or in a business, or in a corporate. The same mentality comes into the picture. It always felt that it can do better. But that's a positive way, because when you felt that you can do better, you get to excel yourself or the country, rather than staying in the comfort zone. So
the fact right now, Eric, Malaysia is ranked 54 in the world and number 2 in ASEAN. So I guess that will be very disappointing for some people.
Too bad. Let's just stays that it stays that way in 2016.
Yeah, because this is a 2015 report. Let's hope that we don't drop some rankings in the next report coming up.
Right. So we really hope that every country in ASEAN will strive to improve its ranking on the corruption index. That way, we can move forward to achieve advanced country status in the shortest time.
Right, Eric, we have mentioned before, corruption is very bad, right?
Yes.
The effects is that it will slow down the economic growth. It will make actually a lot of people very unhappy. Can you imagine your kids study very hard, they are very competent and capable, they try to get some contracts, and then the contracts are awarded to people who are totally...
To his classmate.
Yeah, this guy is fine, you know, but to the classmate who is really can't do the job and does not even have a capital, you know, so many of these $2 companies.
And his classmate come asking for capitals from him.
Right. You know, in Malaysia we have these 2 ringgit companies, which is a private limited company, right? I'm not too sure about other countries.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of the minimum capital required to start a company, and you want to do projects involving millions or even billions of dollars, you should have at least have some capital, a few million lah.
Or at least a good transportation.
And as far as we know, there are so many contracts, big contracts awarded to $2 companies, right?
Yeah, there's plenty of that.
How do you feel about it, you know? People feel very, very angry, sad,
and depressed.
Disappointed.
So the next thing, if they can't do any changes, they will look for other countries to migrate.
Right.
Where that particular country will value,
appreciate
their
talent, right?
Their talents. You know. So on a different note, let's not talk about corruption index and just share a little bit of my experience from my recent trip from Bangkok. I just came back from Bangkok. Okay, so I think a lot of our ASEAN region's citizens don't actually know what's ASEAN all about. Why I say that is that when I reached Bangkok, we got to go for custom clearance, the immigration part. There's a special queue for ASEAN passports. And a lot of people who's holding Malaysia passport or Singapore passport don't even know what that is all about. So they go and queue for the long queue for the foreign passport.
Just like England, people don't know what is EU.
Yeah, so they queue at the foreign passport queue, which involve visa certifications and visa verifications, and it takes them a very long time to clear the
so much time.
Whereas when they queue at the ASEAN queue, They don't really need to go for a visa verification.
Fantastic, good advantages and benefits, and people don't know about it.
Yeah, it's just a matter of finding out where you are.
Hey, Eric, I got this strange feeling. If you go down the street now and ask the people, do you know what is ASEAN?
Well,
out of 10 people, I believe.
Why not we throw in a very good experiment in our forthcoming show? Or our forthcoming show, we just do a small interview on the people on the streets and get their opinion on what is ASEAN. How's that sounds?
Do you know what is ASEAN or not? Even if they can tell you it's some association of countries involving Southeast Asia, if you ask them the next question, how many countries in ASEAN, I bet they wouldn't know.
And what's the purpose of forming ASEAN?
Yes. And I believe that is not only limited to Malaysians.
Yes.
Every other country in ASEAN, I believe they wouldn't know.
They wouldn't know.
Including Singapore.
And probably some of them will have known. It's just that it's not highlighted and they don't actually know what ASEAN is all about and the formation is all about.
I believe today we live in a very, very busy world where we don't have time to know anything else except our house and the work.
House and the work and how people perceive us to be. Right.
Yeah.
So it also comes back to perceptions.
Right. So we should really promote more. I believe there are so many ASEAN meetings in our country last year where we the host, but still people don't seem to notice a lot of diplomats' cars driving around the city, going for meetings.
They say, what is all this thing causing traffic jams?
They are a nuisance.
And the forthcoming one will be currently in Singapore, there's this ASEAN universities games, in the inter-universities games ongoing in Singapore. So it just started. I think the opening ceremony was yesterday. So it's involved most of the major universities in the ASEAN regions. Right, so something interesting. And one of my friends is representing Malaysia to compete in the 10 kilometers run. So let's hope that he brings back a goal for the country.
Right, fantastic. And this year, I think Laos is the host for ASEAN countries meetings, right?
Yes.
This year, Laos is the host.
Right.
And Singapore is doing an event for ASEAN.
And not to forget, next year Malaysia will be hosting the SEA Games.
Wow.
Okay, so bear that in mind, 2017, and our sport complex in Bukit Jalil is under major renovations now. Okay,
let's hope we get it ready.
Let's hope we get it ready and in tip-top quality.
Now the next thing that's coming up is the World Cup in Brazil. And the news is very scary. They are not ready yet.
It's not ready yet. And also the Olympic.
That's quite scary. The Olympics in Brazil, right?
It's also in Brazil, in Rio.
Okay. They just finished Euro Cup. That's all.
All right, folks. That's all the time we have for today. We hope you enjoy our show. We will be back with a brand new story for our Durian Main story on ASEAN Biz in the next edition.
Thank you.
Thank you and goodbye.